I'm Victoria Pearson, but you can call me V. This Sunday, it is my daughter's 18th birthday, and I still haven't done a vlog for you yet, even though it's Thursday today, and so I'm combining the two, and I'm going to show you how to make the cake that she's requested. She has wanted me to make a TARDIS cake for her 18th. I made one for her older sibling years ago, and she has been salty about it ever since because she is the bigger Doctor Who fan. And so I am going to make a TARDIS cake today. Well, I'm probably not, let's be honest. I'm probably just going to make a great big mess today, but I'll invite you along. You can join me on my journey of making a mess that is supposed to be a TARDIS cake. So I am going to put my hair up and then we will get going. Now, some people, my grandma included, would tell you that using a cake mix is cheating when you're making a cake. I don't think it is, because all that you're doing is getting somebody else to measure everything out for you. And so I'm using box cake today. I'm mainly doing that because I broke my scales. I do actually know how to make a cake. I can generally eyeball a cake as well, but just occasionally when I do that, it all goes horribly wrong. And so, because this is an important occasion, I'm using a box cake. We're making a velvety vanilla cake mix here. I've got 2 boxes because the size of this cake, I'm cooking it in a roasting tin. It's going to be massive. I don't know that I'm going to need both lots of cake mix though. So what I'm going to do is mix one of them up, pour it into my tin, and then sort of see if I think that it will need the other one. Your cake will rise when you've put it in the oven. It will double in size. So yeah, we'll see how that looks when I get to it. Let's get going. Just for your reference, this is the size of the tin that we're using. I'm very worried that I haven't got enough icing for this TARDIS cake because, again, I took the lazy route and I bought myself some ready to roll out icing. I've got 3 of the blue. I don't think it's going to be big enough because I was making the templates last night and, well, let me show you. Obviously you can see that the top of the cake is going to be this sort of size, but I want the icing to wrap around as well and be on the sides of the cake, and that means it's going to have to be that big, and I don't know if I'm going to be able to roll it thin enough. So I'm going to adjust this. You won't be able to see me, but you will be able to see the cake and you will get to see me making it. I'm very, very lucky as well because one of my friends has chickens in her backyard, and so I have got the freshest, most free range, most happy hen eggs that I could possibly put in this. I've got my bowl there. I hope that you can see it okay. These are so simple to make. So you just literally get the packet of mixed flour and sugar and whatever out, plonk it in there with some eggs. It's going to be ever so nice. I can't open the packet. That's better. Oh, it really smells very vanilla-y. See, that is the only issue that I find with box cakes, is that they are very sweet, but because this is for somebody's birthday and children are going to be eating it as well as the adult that I'm making it for, the new adult that I'm making it for, I don't think it'll matter if it's too sweet. So we have to add 180 ml of water or milk. I'm adding milk to make it a richer cake today, and I have worked out that that is about the equivalent of 12 of these tablespoons. So I'm going to measure them out into a little cup first. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Now you might have noticed that I went a little bit over. That's because it is 12 and a smidge, but I do not have a smidge sized spoon. I'm also going to need 6 tablespoons of oil or melted butter. I'm using oil because it's easier, and I am, as you can probably tell, quite lazy when it comes to cooking. Like I said, I don't think it matters if you make a box cake with ready rolled icing. The point of a homemade cake is the time that you have put into it, isn't it? And we're still putting all the time in, so it's still a homemade cake. I'm also going to need 3 eggs in this. Like I said, I've got some very happy eggs. And I don't think it much matters what order we put things in a box cake. So I am just going to start plonking. So we need 6 tablespoons of oil. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That looks disgusting, doesn't it? It's hard to believe that that's going to taste so good, but it really is. Then we're going to put in our 3 medium eggs. 1, 2, 3. And then we're just going to beat the heck out of this. If you have got a whisk or something, that's great. If you haven't, a fork will do the job just as well. That's what I'm going to use. And I'm going to start by mixing this in and then add the milk to it in a moment, just in case I overestimated how much milk there needed to be. I'm pretty sure that that was the correct measurement. So as you can see, it's quite stiff at the moment. It looks quite lumpy. That's all right. We're going to add the milk in little splooshes. It smells so vanilla-y. I wish that you could smell it. It smells so good already, and I haven't even turned the oven on yet. I probably should have. Actually, you should probably preheat your oven if you haven't done that. I also haven't done that. This reminds me of making Yorkshire pudding, but it smells so much different. And I don't know if you can tell, but as I'm mixing it, I'm sort of lifting, because what you're trying to do is get lots and lots of air and lots of bubbles into this, because that is what's going to make your cake all nice and moist and fluffy and yum, and not like heavy like a brick. Now I need to keep mixing like that for 2 to 3 minutes. It's already looking nice and bubbly. Can you see those bubbles coming up onto the surface like that? That's a really good thing. It's going to make our cake really nice and light. But I'm going to stop filming for a minute while I mix it up, because otherwise you'll be very bored. Now, I'm sorry if you can hear the background hum now. That's my oven preheating. Took my own advice there. And this is just about mixed up now. As you can see, when I drizzle my spoon or my fork on top of there, it's keeping its shape a little bit before it sinks in. You might also be able to see the little bubbles that are coming up to the surface and popping. And so those two things combined is telling me that I have mixed this enough now. And that was really very simple. The next step, which to be fair you could have done before as well, is to grease the tin. Now my tin is lined with foil, but that is for reasons that are nothing to do with anything that you need to worry about. It's just that this tin is so ancient, I'm not 100% confident that it's still food safe or entirely food safe, and so I tend to line it before I use it. You don't have to do that if you trust whatever cake tin you're using. But you will have to do this bit. So first we're going to smear it with butter. Oil would work as well. Not too much, just a little. Just giving it a little massage there so that nothing sticks to it. Obviously make sure you washed your hands first, but I shouldn't need to tell you that really, should I? And then once you've got your layer of butter on there, your thin layer, then you're going to take some grease-proof paper. I think in America you might call it parchment paper, and I think some places call it baking paper, but it's this sort of almost see-through paper. And we're going to put that into our tin so that it all sticks to that butter. It doesn't matter if you've got big edges coming up like this. That's actually just going to make it even easier for you to take off later. But bear in mind that any creases that you have will show up on your cake. That doesn't matter to me. I'm putting a thick layer of icing and buttercream and stuff on top of it. Once you've got your paper in there, you're then going to get some butter and go over it again. That is to stop your cake from sticking to the paper and the tin. It just makes it lots easier to get your cake out and gives it a nice flat surface to go on. Now that that's all lovely and greasy, I am going to pour my beaten cake mix into there, and then I'm going to judge whether I need to do that whole process again. and make more cake mix because this is a ginormous tin. Normally, I don't think you would need more than one. I don't normally use more than one, but like I said, it's going to be a big cake. Just sort of spread it out, but don't worry if it's not completely even. It will spread itself out. And it will, like I said, it will double in size. So if you're looking at your cake and you're thinking, oh, that's about half as thick as I wanted it to be, don't worry, because it will puff up in the oven, as long as you don't open the oven door too many times while it's cooking. Which can be a bit tricky with Betty Crocker cakes, actually, because I find some of the box cakes do take a little bit longer than they say on the packet that they will. I suppose that they do that to try and make sure that you don't burn it and get cross with them about that. I'm thinking a fork might not have been the best tool for the job here. Now that I've got it all in there, I'm thinking that this might actually be big enough. And if it isn't, I can always cook a second cake and stick the two together with jam, which would make a nice sandwich cake anyway. And so I think I'm going to put this in the oven as it is here and not make the second batch up until it's come out of the oven and I can see how big the final piece is going to be. It will also cook more evenly like that, I think, and not go too doughy in the middle. And vanilla velvet cake stuck together with strawberry jam will be really, really nice. I'll check it in about 20-25 minutes and I'll stick a knife in the middle. If it comes out clean, it's cooked. If it comes out with cake mix on it, still it needs a little bit longer. Despite wearing an apron, I have managed to spill cake mix all over my top, which is disgusting. That is because I also made the apron and I'm rubbish at making them too. Anyway, this is starting to smell a bit done now. So, I'm going to take a knife, just a normal sandwich type knife, stick it in the middle of the cake and see if it comes out clean or not. Look at that. Looking good. I wish there was some way that I could convey to you just how nice this smells. Now, I have had a slight problem here where my greaseproof paper has come in and made a big dent in my cake, but I think we can stick that together with frosting, or maybe just trim it a little. Let's find out. But first thing we need to do is get it out of this hot pan because it will still be cooking in there. And I haven't got a rack big enough for this, so I'm using my grill pan rack for it. And I'm also going to use my grill pan base as the plate for this cake because I haven't got anything big enough. If you haven't got anything big enough for your cake, you can cut a piece of cardboard big enough, cover that in foil, use it as a cake base. But I am concerned that this cake would be too heavy for that. So I'm using my grill pan instead. Maybe I do need a second cake up here. This is thinner than I thought it was going to be. Maybe I'll make another cake and stick it to it. I think that's going to work better. So I'm just going to peel back the paper a little bit. Just to loosen it up before I put my grill pan on top. Turn the whole thing over. There we go. Give it a little tap. Nice. And then peel that paper off. Gently, gently, gently. Oh, look at that. Came off beautifully. And there's my cake. But it is quite thin, like I said, so what I'm going to do is cook another one exactly the same way. Making sure it's actually on my grill pan. I'm going to make another one exactly the same, and then when they've cooled down, I'll put jam on it, stick them together, frost the whole thing, and then put the icing on. It's going to be lovely. Just so that you can see what I mean about your knife coming out clear, if it's not clear when it comes out, it will look like this. If you've stuck your knife in and it looks like this and it's got sort of gummy yuck on it, your cake isn't ready yet, okay? And as you can see, I have now transferred my cake onto, onto the grill pan that I'm going to be using as a plate for it, because I don't have a plate big enough for it. It's now nice and cool. I'm waiting for the second half to come out of the oven, and then I can put that on the cooling rack again. The second cake has come out. Again, we've got a little dip there, but we're covering it in so much frosting, I don't think it's going to matter. Now I'm just going to transfer it to this grill rack without breaking the whole thing. That was surprisingly disaster free, so I'm guessing I'm saving all my disasters for the actual icing bit. When that has completely cooled down, you can see how hot it is, it's steaming right now. When it's as cool as this one, I'm going to cover them both in jam, stick them together like a sandwich. Jammed. Now I have put jam in between these two, stuck them together. I'm going to cover this in a layer of buttercream before I put my icing on it. You don't have to use buttercream, but you do want something in between your cake and your icing layer. And so if you don't like or can't use buttercream, you can put jam on top. I might even go super decadent with this cake and do both. Doing that will just mean that your icing has something to stick to. And it'll also taste better than it would if you just put ready roll icing on top of dry sponge cake. That'll be a bit too dry, I think. Next, I am adding on my vanilla buttercream frosting. You can make this yourself as well. I am not. Why? Because I'm lazy. And because it never quite comes out as good, I don't think. And you're like, oh no, that's all mixing with the jam. That's fine. It's all going to mix in your tummy anyway, and it's going to taste damn good. I'm literally just covering the whole thing in a thick layer of this so that my icing that I'm rolling out will stick to it. If you're using this as your top layer, you probably don't want jam underneath, and you might want your cream to be a little bit colder. When you start, I've taken this out of the cupboard so it'd be easy to spread, but if you want it to be quite firm because you're piping it or something, then you might want to put it in the fridge. If you're making your own, it is literally just butter and sugar and beat it until it looks like this. I'm using it as a sort of cake glue, so it really doesn't have to look perfect. So I've just put you down here so you can see that I did buttercream the sides as well. It was harder than it needed to be because the thing that I'm using as a plate has got little sides to it. But yes, it looks a right mess. That doesn't matter. We're going to cover this whole thing in a thick layer of icing. But first I'm going to put it in the fridge to get it as chilled as I possibly can so that I've got a much easier surface to be working with. It's too big for my fridge. It does not fit in my fridge. So my cake actually cooled down a lot quicker than I expected, so we're still same day. And what I'm doing now is I'm cutting out the templates that I made with the greaseproof paper. This is my base layer one. I know this because I wrote blue layer 1 on it. If you have done like I did and labelled your template pieces, you are going to want to flip that over so they don't end up printed on your icing. Now, because I am using coloured icing, not white icing, I can't just dust my rolling pin with flour to stop it sticking. If I can even find my rolling pin, that would be good. So what I'm going to do is oil the rolling pin, and then I'm probably going to put another layer of either greaseproof or cling film on top so that I can roll it out without it all getting stuck. Right, I've got oil all over my hands, which I'm going to put all over my rolling pin. I then actually spilled some on my greaseproof paper, but then I thought that might stop it sticking to the paper as much as well. And so I am spreading that out over my paper too. So I've got slightly greased greaseproof paper, very greasy hands now, and a very, very greasy rolling pin. And hopefully that's not going to stick. I'm going to reposition you now again, so you won't be able to see me, but you will be able to see this. I really, really hope that I've got enough. I really, really hope that I can make this thin enough. Oh, it's so soft and nice to work with. That's fantastic. Right, am going to put some more greaseproof on top while I roll it out, just to make it not stick onto my rolling pin. And it's hard at first, but it will get easier as we go on, and I'm just going to try and roll it to cover this entire base layer. In the time it has taken me to roll this out, civilizations have risen and fallen and discovered space travel and gone off to a different planet, and I'm still rolling. But I don't know if you can see, I'm pretty sure that I have covered all of my template in a really thin layer of blue now. It's a good thing that it's thin, because that's going to mean that the icing on the cake isn't going to be too thick, because I've got other layers to do. But I'm also kind of scared that I'm going to break it now when I try and transfer it to the cake. Let's find out, I guess. Okay, so it did take about 700 or 800 years to get my icing onto my cake, but we managed it. You probably should oil both bits of greaseproof paper, because that's what I didn't do, so it got a bit stuck, and it was a bit more tricky for me to do because of the edges here. But I literally just flipped it with the greaseproof still on and gently peeled that back. Now you might be thinking, well, you've got cracks here, or your icing might have fallen apart when you put it on the cake. Don't worry about that. We can fix it later with just a bit more oil. So I'm just going to let that base layer relax onto the cake, and then I'm just sort of tapping the sides in to make it a little neater, but you really don't have to do that. I'm actually really, really relieved that there was enough icing to cover all of that cake. I've still got a packet and about 2/3 of a packet of blue left, and I'm not going to need all that much for the rest of the cake now. So now I just get to do the fun bit, which was the decorative stuff. Got my template here, and I am just going to, I think, roll little sausages to start with, and sort of place them on and then roll them out afterwards. I think that would be the easiest way. Okay, so the sausage thing didn't really work out, but that means that I just did a square the same size, and I'm going to cut the stuff out, I think. Actually, I could just put the windows on top, couldn't I? As you can see, it's a little bit scratched and stuff here, but don't panic too much about that at this stage, because we can sort all that out afterwards. I am going to patch it in a couple of places, and that was a great way of demonstrating. I did that on purpose, you see, to demonstrate to you that icing sticks to itself. So if you're getting it all over your hands, you're going to have to wash them quite often and re-oil them again. As you can see, if you rub it with oil, and it doesn't have to be loads, it looks like a lot here, but it really isn't. If you rub it with the oil, then that just gets all of those little creases out. You might want to dab it with a paper towel before you put it on your cake, so that your cake doesn't end up being too oily. I'm just sort of carving through my template onto the icing before I take the greaseproof off, so that I'll be able to see which bits I need to cut out, or put my other things over, I guess. I haven't decided yet if it's going to be easier to take these off or just put the other things on top of them. I did want to take these bits out so that it'd be sort of recessed and look a bit more, I was about to say realistic, but it's a TARDIS. But we will see how it turns out when I go to flip this thing onto the cake. Probably mess it all up and have a big cry. Not that I'm manifesting that, we're manifesting a decent cake over here. And just lightly across there where I want it to be sort of textured, but not cut all the way through. That honestly didn't go as well as I hoped. It kind of got stuck to the paper as I was putting it over, and now I've got big creases all over it, and it's not nearly as smooth and lovely as it was a second ago. And then the icing stuck to itself, and now I've got buttercream coming out everywhere, and it's but it's okay. Because my daughter was raised right, she knows that it's the effort and the thought and the time that matters, rather than the end product. And also because I'm going to be putting more icing on it anyway. But yeah, that didn't go well. It would have probably gone better if my cake was small enough that I could put the icing layers in the fridge. But my fridge is too small. You've probably seen the video about my fridge being far too freaking small. So it's a little bit creased on top. But like I said, I think we will be able to get rid of that eventually. But I'm going to put the other details on first, and then we'll brush the whole thing with oil at the end, so we don't like make it all greasy and stuff, I guess. I've only got a couple more bits of blue left to do, but I'm going to do those first so that I can clean my hands and my rolling pin afterwards before I start with the white. So what stuff do I need that is blue? I just need these little crossbars for the window, I think. And I'm pretty sure that is it. Oh, and I'll need some bits for the little doobry on top of the TARDIS if I can fit it into the tin. I don't know if I'm going to have to just skip that bit. Right, so I've made my little crossbars for the windows and I've made the black windows. I've oiled a knife and hopefully this will all stay in one piece. Oh, that's too small. Okay, that wasn't wise. Let's put these on the cake and then I'll make the crossbars afterwards. Now it's starting to come together. I'm liking how this is working out so far. I tried to do the free for public use thing and it turned out like that. And so instead I've just put an 18 on the bit where the writing is supposed to be because these are really hard to write with, you know. Well, my phone ran out of battery halfway through doing the decorating, but I'll show you the finished result anyway. Is it the best TARDIS cake you've ever seen in your life? Probably not. It is messy. The icing is blobby. The details are, not the best. But, like I said, my daughter's been raised right. She is going to really appreciate the time and effort that this took me. I hope, anyway. And I'm sure she will be very pleased with it. I really couldn't fit it in my fridge, so I've just put it on my fridge in a big tent of foil, and I hope nobody smushes it. I am not the neatest of cooks. So that was a lot, to be honest. It's taken me most of the day to do it. Did it come out brilliantly? Not really. It looks very blobby. It looks very homemadey. It looks very amateurish. But like I said, my daughter is just going to appreciate the time, effort, energy, planning, swearing when I was making those little letters that went into it. And so she will, I think, be really, really pleased with it. I can't actually let you know in this video how she reacted to it because I'm going to have scheduled this video before I actually give it to her. But in my morning vlog on Monday, I'll let you know what she thought. So join me next Monday for my next long vlog. I'll be here as usual, 6 AM UK time. I don't know exactly what I'm vlogging about next week. I was going to do a thing about my 2024 goals, try and sort of manifest some things there. I might still do that, or I might have decided by then that it's too late into January to be talking about New Year goals now, because it's not really a new year anymore. I will still be here though every single morning in your shorts, taking a great big deep breath, letting you know what I'm grateful for today. I love when you join in with that with me, so please do come along. I think I've got some Witchy Wednesdays scheduled as well, where I'm going to do some intuitive card reads for you. Until then, you have yourself a magical week.